Hi everyone, it's QuickyBaby and welcome back to World of Tanks, and boy have I got an exciting video for you today, and that's because I finally got my hands on the M60. This tier 10 reward American medium tank was previously only available inside of Clan Wars. However, if you have noticed, Wargaming inside their store have now got two of the previous Clan Wars exclusive tanks available for bonds. Those two vehicles are the 121B, a tier 10 Chinese medium tank, and also the M60, the vehicle in question, that we're going to be playing today. So to be able to access these vehicles in the bond store, you want to click your store button, then wait for a little while. As we can see, the UI is not exactly the fastest thing in the world. Then click the bonds button down here. Then you will see all of the vehicles available. There are some real nice pickups here. For example, rarities like the Panzer IV Hydrostat, the Liberté, and the Patriot. You can pick these two up for 8,000 bonds. Now, if you've been participating in the ranked battles, or even if you've saved up a lot of your bonds from playing tier 10, or even if you've got some bonds from Frontlines, or managing to get towards the Object 279E and doing some of those missions with honors, yeah, the Patriot and the Liberté are both really good tier 8 premium tanks. But if you're not interested in tier 8 premium vehicles and you want to get rare exclusive reward vehicles, and the FV215B is no longer available as the tier 10 British heavy tank, but the two vehicles that I think are really exciting are ones that have never been available so far outside of Clan Wars. That is the 121B and the M60. And the M60 is what I'm going to be talking about today, and stay tuned to the channel as I'll be letting you know my full opinion about the tier 10 Chinese medium tank, the 121B, in an upcoming video very soon. So before we get stuck into the gameplay, let me give you an overview of the statistics of the M60 and specifically show you how it stacks up compared to its regular American counterpart, the M48A5 pattern. Alright, so M60, it's got the same gun as the M48A5 pattern, although there are some differences. Firstly, the rate of fire, it's 6.82. This is the old rate of fire that the M48A5 pattern had a couple of years ago. Everything else is identical, apart from, believe it or not, the premium rounds on this tank. It has heat rounds, which have more penetration than the M48A5 pattern. As we can see here, it has 350 millimeters of heat pen compared to the 330 that the M48A5 pattern has. But apart from that, everything's identical with regards to the firepower of these two tanks. The M60, however, has much better gun handling than the M48A5 pattern. 1.6 seconds aim time, better dispersion after firing, although that really doesn't matter when you're going to be spending at least another 5, 6, 7 seconds reloading. But better accuracy at 0.33 makes this thing a better sniper than the tier 10 standard American medium tank. Now onto the mobility of the vehicle, and wow, we're really starting to see advantages that the M60 has. 60 forwards and 23 backwards. I cannot emphasize how nimble this vehicle was. Even though it's a large tank, like the M48, it's just so fast. It performs more like a Leopard. In fact, this thing is just as mobile as a Leopard outside of having that wonderful 70km/h top speed limit that the tier 10 German sniping reconnaissance medium tank will have. The weight of this vehicle, however, is practically the same as the M48 pattern, but it's just the power to weight advantage because of having that meaty engine of 950 that allows this thing to feel like a more rapid medium tank, and it's one of the definite downsides to the M48 pattern, which is probably the slowest tier 10 medium tank in the game, along with the Object 430U. If that's not enough, the ground resistances on this tank are also just a touch better, which gives this vehicle a better traverse speed on all terrains apart from soft. Because of its better tank traverse and the ground resistances, it's also got a little bit of an advantage with regards to turret traverse. So far, really good news with regards to the gun handling and the mobility of the M60, and while the DPM is a little less, those 350 heat rounds can really make the difference when you're engaging heavy tanks. Alright, so now on to armor and health, and yeah, this is where this tank falls down, boys and girls. 93mm of frontal armor, 73 on the side and 25 on the rear with 177 on the turret. Oh, it's really bad news for the M60. This means that when you're getting shot by 268mm of penetration, yeah, practically everything is going in, and God forbid that somebody loads heat and has 350mm of penetration, then you're pretty much a walking experienced pinata. Combine this with a rather meaty cupola on top of the vehicle, and yeah, the armor on this thing is negligible at best. Another thing that's really frustrating about the M60 is the fact that the side armor is actually worse than on the M48, and this is something that's super important if you're engaging these tanks. Look at the side armor along the lower part of the hull. It's only 19mm thick, and at the front it's 35.8. And so this means that in the M60, while it does have a boat-shaped side hull, but not quite as pronounced as the M48. You will get overmatched by 120mm caliber guns along the middle of the tank, even towards the front, and every vehicle is going to overmatch you along the side. And that is just absolutely horrendous for this vehicle. One of the strengths of the M48A5 pattern is that it can side scrape. This tank, unless they hit right on the middle plate and God forbid hitting towards the rear part of the vehicle, it cannot side scrape at all. And so if you're expecting the M60 to have advantages not only in gun handling, mobility, but also in armor, well, your luck might be out. Finally, a passing mention should be made, even though the statistics are identical of these vehicles to 420 meters view range. That's just wonderful. Even without coated optics, only using vents on this tank, you can get a tremendous amount of view range. And finally, you've got less chance to be set on fire at 10% instead of 12%. And so when you do get penetrated, and yeah, you will do if you get hit by many shells in this vehicle, you got a little less chance to go up in smoke. And so maybe you can afford to drop the fire extinguisher altogether and get that good old cola on the vehicle to improve your cruise skills. But anyway, that's really all you need to know statistically. Let's see how it performs on the battlefield. So here we go, we're rolling out on Stajanki for the M60, and yeah, this is a nice matchup for the vehicle. We're against some tier 8 tanks, but a tank like this, it doesn't even really matter if you play against tier 8s, because remember, the armor is so awful that you're going to be getting penetrated by pretty much everything that hits you. The real advantage, I guess, against playing against tier 8s is maybe they're going to have less view range, maybe they're going to have less damage per minute, maybe their alpha damage is going to be a little bit less, but there's still 4 tier 10s that we're going to have to worry about, and also it looks like 5 tier 9s. So it's pretty much the classic 2-tier spread. And I really enjoy matchmaking like this, especially when I'm in a big tank. But you know what? I also prefer it when I'm in the bottom tank. I don't know about you, but if I can get into matchups like this in my tier 10s, I don't mind playing against it. I don't mind playing that kind of spread in my tier 8s, as long as it happens. But anyway, I digress. I don't really want to focus on the matchmaker. I want to focus on the M60 and its awesomeness. And that is, did you see how fast this tank got into position? We got into position pretty much just as fast as the light tank. And next up, the awesome view range that this vehicle has means that we can spot out the 5120 as soon as we peek up over this ridge. And look at that gun handling. Good lord, that is 1.6 seconds aim time with good dispersions as well. And it just feels right, let me tell you. Being a player who loves the snapshotting capacity of the M48A5 pattern, when I got myself an M60, it felt absolutely wonderful. And being able to have vertical stabilizers on this tank, even though it's got pretty good dispersion values already when you're moving and when you're also turning the turret, it just amplifies the tank and makes it feel awesome. Alright, so we put one round into the Scorpion. We try and loop another shell over the ridgeline there. We actually bounce around from the UDES frontally, and that means that there's a UDES probably sitting in the bushes just around here on this ridgeline, or alternatively he's sitting at the back. So what I want to do is I want to get forward and see if I can poach him. I think he's in that position. I don't want to press too aggressively right now, because why would I? I'm being really efficient from up here. The damage per minute on this vehicle hasn't really held it back compared to the M48A5, but I really think that 0.33 accuracy, the advantage that the tank has over the M48A5, is really showing itself with these mid to long range engagements. Now a T-49 is poking up on the ridge, but the massive 420 meters base view range on this tank allows us to outspot him, and we can put a shot in him right through the wall there, crumbling the wall and also entering in the vehicle on the other side. We're going to be looking for a second shot here. Will we be able to make it work? Beautiful shot right into the back of the Tier 9 light, and I really can't emphasize how much I really enjoyed the gun handling on this tank. It's a bit like a Leopard, but it's a Leopard that kind of just is American. It's an American Leopard, but it also has quite a few other statistics where it's actually superior to the German tank. Obviously, when you play in the Leopard, you really know that everything's going to be going in, and even if you get hit by artillery, you don't take artillery hits very well. A vehicle like this, on the other hand, this thing can take artillery hits. Not convincingly, but occasionally, and just getting penetrated by all manner of HESH rounds like an FV215B183, or even some of the Swedish medium tanks, and even some of the British medium tanks. When they penetrate you with those HESH rounds, it can be truly devastating. Or how frustrating is it when an EBR-105 is driving around firing high explosive, high penetration rounds at you when you're playing your Leopard? This thing can actually take them. As long as you're not getting hit flush in the back or alternatively hitting the top bar of the vehicle, you can do very well. Alright, so you'll notice that I actually tracked the UDES while I was up on the ridge behind. And so now, what I did is I went in and I tracked him again. Knowing that he doesn't have a repair kit, we could make him look silly. Now we fire around through the upper plate of the 268 version 4, but I was hoping that by wiggling here that he's going to be able to miss me, but he doesn't. I actually fluffed the shell completely there. I thought that I was trying to aim at his tracks, but in retrospect that was just a terrible shot. But now I'm just going to use my mobility, my great power to weight ratio, to get the side of the vehicle, hope the enemy artillery aren't going to be able to get me, and I'm going to put heat rounds into the side of this absolute toxic Soviet tank destroyer. Looks like he's figured out he is screwed. He's going to try and get away from me. Looks like you shouldn't have been so aggressive, bud. And the mobility of this vehicle, forwards, backwards, backwards, forwards, allows us to just keep so nimble. This thing rings round its opponents more like a light tank than a medium tank. I think you guys might be getting the idea that I kind of liked my games when I was playing this vehicle. And those 350mm heat rounds just going through the side of the ST-1's turret as if it was nothing. Going to follow that up with a miss there as we were stunned, even though we used our med kit earlier in a fight. So we're going to be very inaccurate in this situation, but hopefully this one will go through the side. And I shouldn't really be continuing to fire heat here. I should be loading standard rounds. The standard rounds will actually be superior against the tracks. In fact, I just spent more credits to not do damage to the FV215B there. Terrible decision. But oh, can you believe it? That artillery hits me again. And again, a heat round going into the tracks of the FV215B. Why haven't I loaded standard rounds here? This is really lazy. Maybe I'm just completely addicted to those 350mm of heat pen. But in this situation, actually, that's where the heat is going to be better than the APCR. So, a second use of the med kit. We've got our loader back in, and we are already up to nearly 10,000 combined. But once again, that bloody artillery just keeps nailing us. And I wish I'd loaded standard rounds, because that one actually hit a box, so it didn't go through and hit the FV215B. In fact, the fact that I only penetrated that tank twice was an absolute disaster. But one thing is, we're not going to be missing that Leopard, are we? Well, actually we are, because the Griller hits him down as well. And at this stage of the game, I was actually getting incredibly frustrated, because we were up to 10k. I really felt like we made the piercing advance on that flank, but we're not getting anything at the end of the game. But one thing we are getting is we put a round into the side of the FV207, and hopefully we're going to ram kill the T-49 at the end of the game to pick up our 4th kill and to confirm our domination in this round of World of Tanks in the M60. What a round. So as you would expect with a vehicle with 420 base view range, we get a patrol duty here for our 3,467 assistance, but we combine that with a high caliber medal. And that's because our accuracy was really not poor for the amount of flimsy shots that we fired at our opponents, especially those heat rounds through those walls, and while we were dazed and confused by the bombardment from the enemy British self-propelled gun. 22 hits, 17 pens. Considering the chancy shots that we were firing, that's pretty good odds. 6,600 damage for it, although we did lose a stonking amount of credits as we resupplied 67,000 credits of ammunition. So if you're expecting to buy this thing and for it to be, 15,000 bonds is going to get me a tier 10 premium tank, you're not going to be right. This is a special tank. This is a tank that you don't play to go and make credits. This is a tank that you go and play when you want to play an American medium tank at tier 10 that has a different kind of flavor to the M48. The M48 A5 pattern is my most played tank in the game. And so it's one of the only tanks that I have over 1,000 games played in an individual vehicle. And so it's no surprise that when I played the M60 that I actually really loved this vehicle. A lot of people say that this is quite a poor tank. I don't understand why. Look, this isn't an Object 430U. This isn't an Object 279. I don't think this is the vehicle that you would want to play if you wanted to go and play ranked and be absolutely dominant. It's got horrendous camera rating. I think its camera rating when moving is something like 10 base. It's absolutely horrendous. It might even be lower. It might be something like 7% even with a concealment crew. Don't expect to stay hidden in this tank unless you're really working at that 445 meters maximum spotting distance. That is your advantage. You've got the mobility to be able to control the range of the engagement. You've got the view range to be able to do so as well. You've got enough armor to be able to take hits from enemy artillery, unlike something like a Leopard can. And when you combine that with incredible gun handling and those awesome heat rounds, this M60 really feels like it's a bit of a winner for me. Now, do I think that it's worth spending 15,000 bonds on this tank? In the end, that's only a decision you can make. 15,000 bonds is a lot. That's playing a lot of ranked. That's also managing to unlock the Object 279E or even some of the previous vehicles where you start to get rewarded bonds for completing personal missions. That's grinding tier 10 a hell of a lot. Or that's spending your soul inside Frontline to be able to get all of the amount of bonds that you can get from that game mode as well. Is it worth that much? So here's the thing. If you've got yourself 30,000 bonds, I think this one's probably worth a pickup. However, if you don't, and you've only got maybe 15,000 bonds, or you're going to start grinding to be able to get this tank, I'd probably recommend to hold on to them. I think that Wargaming are probably going to leave this thing inside the bond shop for quite a while. And even if they add new tanks, there's no guarantee they'll be removing the M60. And I should expect, and this is something I'll try and clarify with Wargaming, will they give us fair warning if they're going to remove the M60 from the bond shop? But here's the thing. The bond shop has just begun. And while these might be opening introductory offers, maybe we're going to get things really rare going into the bond shop in the subsequent iterations of it. And I bet you wouldn't want to get left without any bonds if an Object 907 arrived in the bond shop, or if for some reason they released the Donkerer, aka the fake chieftain, inside the bond shop. Even though I don't think the Wargaming would ever release those two vehicles, as they are truly prestigious Clan Wars reward tanks, it might be just worth keeping the bonds just in case we see what Wargaming want to release for Christmas. That's all I'm going to say. However, the M60 for me gives a different kind of flavor to the M48A5 pattern. And I have to admit, I truly enjoyed playing this tank, and I'm going to be picking one of these up on my main account, even though it's just as hard for me to get bonds as it is for everybody, as it's something Wargaming wouldn't give extra to for the community contributors. The account that you saw me playing the M60 on was a test account. I haven't yet bought this on my main account. I'm just going to see how I do in ranked for the rest of this season to see if I can get up to that 30k mark, and then I probably would be okay to spend the 15,000 bonds to pick one up. It's still a high price. That's still a lot of World of Tanks to play, but to be able to get a truly unique vehicle that has, for me at least, a very novel play style, I think this one's probably worth the price tag. But as much as I say that, this is coming from somebody who their most played tank is the M48A5 pattern. This is coming from somebody who really likes to work the vision and the camo game at long range, and likes to have that piercing 420 meters view range, and is willing to spend the credits to make use of those 350mm penetration heat rounds. And if that's not you, then you'd probably be better to spend the bonds on something like a Patriot or a Liberté, or alternatively save them for things that might be bigger, better, greater, or even just rarer coming in the bond shop soon. Anyway, ladies and gents, boys and girls, that's my opinion of the M60 pattern. Hopefully you enjoyed it. If you did, give this video a thumbs up, but if you hated it, make sure you give it a thumbs down, and let me know in the comments down below what you think, firstly, about the M60 pattern, and secondly, what do you think about Wargaming's bond shop? Are you a Clan Wars reward player? Sorry, are you a Clan Wars player who has the M60 as a reward, who feels cheated? Or are you an active World of Tanks player who has been earning bonds, but just doesn't have the time to spend in the evenings in a Clan Wars campaign, who is now happy that they can get a novelty for Wargaming's ultimate currency? And as always, thank you so much for watching. You've been epic, and hopefully I'll see you soon.